All right, we're here on September the 8th in Alpena, correct? South Dakota.
Yep.
And I'm here with Scott Nenaber, good friend I met. He guides pheasant hunts up here at his own place, wild birds. Best experience ever. We're going to talk about gun dogs. This is Gundog Nation. This is our first episode, and I'm honored to be here with somebody that knows more about gun dogs than I ever will. But anyway, Scott, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Scott Nenaber, born and raised up here in the Huron, South Dakota area. Live in Alpena now, or north Alpena, about 15 miles out of Huron.
All right. You spend how many days a year guiding hunts?
Did 105 days guiding last year.
And what kind of hunting?
That was all pheasants. And then I did 30 days of snow goose guiding in the spring.
Okay.
Then I take kids turkey hunting in the
Oh, really? I didn't know
later
you
in the spring. Yeah, about 15 miles east of here, west of here, we got a lot of turkeys.
Now, you used to waterfowl hunt.
Used to do a lot of waterfowl guiding until the pheasant hunting just kind of took over, you know.
Now, I've been hunting with you. This will be my third season coming up. And what I thought was interesting when my first time was with you, why Labrador Retrievers?
Oh, they're the kings. There ain't no other dog species that can do what South Dakota has, and there's more upland and waterfowl hunting in South Dakota than any other state. You know, it rivals Canada, you know, on the waterfowl, and then you got pheasants in the eastern part, and then you got grouse, partridge, everything else not far off.
Now, I'm sure being a native up here and all the upland hunting you've done and waterfowl, have you used other breeds in the past?
The first dog I ever had was a German Shorthair, and I'm not gonna tell anybody their business about dogs, but Shorthairs just couldn't do what we need to have up here. We got to shoot the birds and have them in your basket ASAP. I mean, pheasants run, pointers run. The mix wasn't that good.
Okay. Why is that? Why else?
You know, we need the retrieving, and
Okay.
labs dominate the retrieving than any other breed.
Okay.
And you know, and we buy good pedigrees, and it always works out. Trainability.
Now, what was neat to me, and not just because it was the first time and I was a greenhorn, but your dog's quarter and flush, correct?
Yep.
Is that natural instinct?
That's naturally. That's his hunting dog. We don't train. We force fetch them, and then basically everything else is picked up. You know, we hunt them, and I do a lot of preserve guiding on a preserve leading up to the third week of October. You know, I'll do 7-8 weeks out there, and the repetitions you get on a preserve where it's unlimited. It's planted birds, of course, but it's like preseason football for NFL. You know, they get so many reps. You take a 9-10-week-old dog out there, and in 4 weeks it's done more, and most dogs will do its whole life.
So it's natural. You're only thing you're really teaching is the retrieve.
Yep.
And you explained this to me once, Scott, but one of the reasons that you believe in force fetch is that your dogs are just carrying so many birds per day.
Yeah, and you know, a young dog, you get to then a lot of these fields where the force fetching really kicks in is when you're dropping multiple birds on the end of a push, and that dog has a bird in its mouth, and many times that bird might be a crippled bird, and a dead bird drops next to it. You don't want it spitting that cripple. You know, you want bird in the hand comes back to you, and we do a lot of diversion work after the force fetch, and to get them to that. And the more birds you like, them preserves are great because they're seeing so many birds, and they're realizing they have to put that bird in the air in order to get that retrieved. So that's where they figure out the quartering and the hunting. You know, they figure I've never taught a dog to do that. I mean, I got a 9-month-old out there, and in a week he'll be doing it. You know,
That's interesting. So I didn't realize that. I was going to ask you. Yes. So how many retrieves a day on average do you say your dogs get?
on the preserve, it's a lot because, you know, it's unlimited in South Dakota on preserve because they're put and take birds. You know, I ain't gonna say the preserve, but we just hunted 8 guys and killed well over 700 in 2 days. You know,
Wow.
and I had 6 dogs on the trailer.
So 6 dogs
Yeah.
retrieving 700
Well,
birds.
there was 3 other guys that had 6 dogs
Okay.
on there too. You know, but still, that's
I will do the math there.
Yeah.
18. Yeah.
it was some work.
That-
It was some work, and that's what makes the dog, stuff like that. And then you take them the dogs after doing that a while and go to wild birds. It's just they're dialed in.
So So your gun dog is a tool for a job.
Oh yeah, but they're also my kids.
Yeah. Well, I noticed you have an air conditioned quarters out
Yeah.
there, and we've talked a lot about nutrition stuff. And that's a good segue into that. So these dogs are running how many hours a day?
Average probably 6-7 hours a day hunting. Then we get to daylight savings times. Of course, that drops significant. Yes. But they're in shape well by then. And a lot of our hunts, guys can shoot are done in 3-4 hours, and then they're rested and and fed an hour or so after we hunt. And I got heat, AC. I wouldn't want to put them in anything I don't want to be in. So they, even in the summer, the only time they're panting is when we're exercising.
And yeah, I've seen you. You were telling me too. You don't feed until the day's done, right?
Right.
They're done hunting. And tell the listeners why you do that.
Well, you can get twisted guts for a ton of reasons, and get that twist. Even on an empty dog, it can happen. But the more weight you put in that stomach, you're playing with dynamite. It's early season. Them dogs will want to drink more water too. You really got to watch some dogs at the trailer that want to sit over that water and tank up, because that can cause a twist too. So, we carry water in the field. We're hydrating, as they, my dogs learn to come to you when they want to drink, which is, it's 80 degrees. It's about every retrieve they want to sip, and.
Well, that's what I got to tell listeners. I've watched Scott. He keeps water bottles in his pockets, and the dogs come up to him, they drink out of the bottle from his side. Yeah.
Those 24-ounce sport tops, 99 cents. You don't lose them like you do the ones you buy either.
Yeah. But I thought that's pretty neat. So, so you're running at the peak 7 hours a day. What do you do in the off season to keep these dogs conditioned?
I'll give them, when pheasant season's done, we kind of just take it easy, and February is kind of just relax. I don't want them dogs don't have to do nothing. They've done the season, so we're putting weight back on, which I got several dogs, so I'm not pounding the same dog over and over. We'll fluctuate by keeping them in shape in the off season. We'll fluctuate 4 pounds maybe from here to January, because they're already in shape. We work on the cardio, and we get past snow goose hunting, which usually mid-end to April. I got a few dogs I use on that, and then we start running 2 miles every day. So we'll do that all the way up until the week before we start guiding. I won't do anything that week. It just don't want to get them hurt then.
How does that look? Are you actually running with them, or are you on an ATV?
I'd like to say yes, but I use a four-wheeler.
I don't blame you. I'd 2 miles, and I'd be in the ER.
I do 7-8 miles a day for 100 days a year, so I cheat.
Yeah. So you got to stay in shape yourself, right?
And I'm finding as I get older, I should probably be running with them.
Yeah. So I guess when hunting season begins, you run the dogs like that, you're having to modify their diet, correct?
Yeah, when we get 2-3 weeks from now, them dogs, majority of them getting 5 cups a day, because they're burning the calories. We up the protein. I go 26% all off season. Now we'll go up to 30, 20 blends, and then because they're burning calories.
Yeah.
And I'll start the year with 12 dogs, and then by third week October, when the regular season starts, I'm down to my own 6 dogs I have. I give everybody else their puppies back that we work. Guides that don't hunt on the preserve, I take their dogs, get everybody in shape. And then we kind of just go by the condition of the dog and how much we're feeding. I got 5-cup scoops, and I got females right now that are on 2 a day, two scoops a day, or 2 cups a day.
So you just made me aware of something, because I've been feeding just for the listeners, I brought a Southern Oak, one of my dogs from Southern Oak Kennels up here. He'll be 2-year-old this month, and Scott's going to run him on pheasants for a couple months up here, so he'll be kind of fully seasoned upland hunter. But anyway, I've been feeding him 30% 20 Eukanuba, and he's grossly overweight right now.
They don't need it when they're not hunting.
So you just remind me I'm making a mistake.
Well, they're getting so much they're not even utilizing.
Yeah.
And you see it the more they go, it just goes right out of them. You know, and you can knock it back to 26, or even some of your older dogs, you can knock it back to 21 when you're not hunting. Okay. And you watch your dog. I like to see like the back rib. You know, the older they get, the harder it is to get them in shape. So the more you keep them in shape, their life, you get years out of them dogs. We get dogs that hunt up to 14 years old, but we're not pounding them every field, and they're not arthritic, and they're they got the miles on them, but they're not hunting every field.
Yeah, you mentioned a while ago you just lost one of your really good dogs. Apologize for that.
Yep.
It's lived to be 15.
Yeah, I lost. Who's out of national field champion Finn, or 2007, 8, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Got a puppy out of him. He hunted. Well, I had him 15 years, I believe. So, 14, 15 years, and he passed, and he hunted up till the month before we lost him.
And so you have to be treating your dogs right, feeding them right,
Yep.
good genetics.
Yep.
That's a long time for a lab.
Yeah, and with what we do having multiple dogs, I have 6 to 8 dogs always myself, and we hunt 2 a field, put them up, switching 2 new ones the next field. You always got fresh dogs, and there's times them dogs might only hunt 2 fields a day.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. You're rotating.
You're rotating them, and then that keeps the miles off. They get the experience,
Yes.
especially with the preserve, and we do a lot of days, so they're getting it all, and you're not putting all them miles where you're by the time your dog's 8 is arthritic and stoved up. They're hunting a lot, but they're not being pounded into the ground.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys can't. Unless you're guiding, you're not going to have that many dogs. But everybody that owns one dog, they're going to probably hunt them every field all day. If they hunt a lot, by the time that dog's 8.
Now, Scott, one of the purposes of this podcast, just so you know, is we're trying to get people like you and I, even though you're way more experienced, even though I've been fooling dogs for years, but you're so much more hunt dog experience than I am, but we're trying to get people to come together that love gun dogs, love hunting with gun dogs, and not just lab guys like Brittany guys, and pointer guys.
Every dog's got its purpose.
You do this for a living. So when did this passion develop for you? My
dad loved pheasant hunting, and mid 80s he started dabbling in the guiding a little bit, and we got a German Shorthair, and then we got a black lab pup. I was probably in 3rd or 4th grade. We got that black lab, and dogs only listened to me, so I was 9-10 years old, and there was a lot of Fridays and Mondays I didn't go to school.
Yeah.
And I got guys that I met when I was 9-10 years old that I become friends. I still hunt with them, that still come up here and hunt, and I'm 45 now.
And were they customers?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I ask your opinions a lot, Scott, but what advice would you give to our listeners when trying to find a good hunting dog for themselves?
Anything, look at pedigree, no matter what it is. I'm not real in touch with a lot of other breeds, but like with labs, we strictly chase field champion lines, and you got everything between the ears with them, and trainability. I've had 30 dogs doing that, over the course of my life, and they've always turned out. I've never had a dud, and
wow.
And with these preserves we got up here, where I go and guide on them before we start chasing the wild birds, that you just so many more repetitions that you can have versus shooting 3 birds a man a day.
Yeah.
They screw up once, you can redo it in a minute. That's the key. You can shoot 100 birds over a dog in a day. That dog ain't gonna forget that. And you do it for 6-7 weeks, you can't assimilate that anywhere else.
Yeah, and and I guess most of us gun dog owners are people like me, that just don't get to hunt that often.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to see, everything that can go wrong with a dog on a hunt.
Yeah.
And most of us want to show up with our buddies, whether man or woman hunter, or a field trial or hunt test.
Oh, yeah.
And we want to be proud of our dogs.
Yeah.
So you're saying, look at the pedigree.
Look at the pedigree,
and then lots of time.
Look at the pedigree. Put a lot of your time in, and be humble.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I've learned guiding, the guy that shows up talking about his dog is the guy that everybody knows that dog's name in first walk, and there wasn't much to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's so
I let the remote do the talking. You'll never hear me hollering. You know.
Yeah. So, if someone wants to take advantage of your pheasant hunting, and I highly recommend it, I don't go anywhere else, and I've told a lot of people about you. How do we get in touch with you?
My phone, 605-350-7229, or Nenaber Pheasant Ranch online.
Okay. That's no question. I'm thinking of stuff as we talk, but
Yeah.
One of the things, this is just for listeners who are not experts like you, but you're hunting dogs early season. You're hunting dogs in hot weather,
Yep.
and then we're up north here. We're in South Dakota, so when the winter hits, it hits.
It hits.
What do you do? How do you? What do you do to try to prepare your dog for that, or can you do anything?
They acclimate to the weather. The heat is hard on anything, whether you're in Texas or up here, and we can be 70, 80, 90 degrees. I've seen some hundreds clear up to end October, but by exercising, keeping them in shape, and I have several dogs. I'll go out, start the year with 12 dogs, and I might switch dogs out at lunchtime, and hunt the older dogs in the cooler weather, get everybody in shape slowly. They don't all have to hunt the same day. I'll give dogs days off. Slowly get them into shape, and you gotta be smart. You gotta carry water. You gotta have water on the trucks or trailers. You gotta just watch your dog. He'll tell you when the warning signs. Another big thing we carry rubbing alcohol, and you can buy them big bottles of rubbing alcohol at your dollar stores for 99 cents, and that is way better than dipping them in water.
Really?
Because it doesn't evaporate, and it's cool. And you pour that in their armpits, between their legs, on their ears, on their neck, and
like their hot spots,
where they get the most blood flow, on their pads, and that'll cool a dog faster than dipping them in a water tank or. About the worst thing you can do is add humidity on top of that heat. So if you put them in the water, you got to leave them in the water for a long time, because once you take them out and put them back in that dog trailer, that's just going to make it humid.
Oh, because they're hot and it's wet, and
it's just be hard to breathe. And so that rubbing alcohol is a key thing for, and you guys down in Texas quail hunting. I'm sure a lot of you guys know about that, but I've saved a lot of dogs with that.
You have educated me. I did not know that, and I thought I knew a lot of stuff. That's
when your dog starts holding his head up high and really foam. I mean, that's time to call the truck. Just stop.
And you know me, like I've blood tracked dogs in Texas and done some shed hunting and stuff a lot. I actually did a few like blood tracking competitions, but in the summer, especially out of black lab, and I could look at her tongue. It was just scorching red. I don't know what, violet or not, crimson red, whatever you want to call it, but it was crazy red.
Yeah.
But I'll have to remember that alcohol trick.
Yeah, and that tongue, hydrated dogs got the tongue's normal color, like a red. When it starts getting that white foam and more of a pink,
the
dog's probably getting dehydrated.
Do you in the warm months when it's hotter? And I've always heard I'm originally from Southeast Kentucky, so a lot of coon dog guys, but beagle guys. And do you run a lower protein in the hot weather because it heats them up? Is that correct?
It does, but they just don't. I want to be burning the calories before I get them on that high protein, no matter what the weather is. The off season we're not burning the calories, so they're on lower, and they'll need it, especially when we get cold up here, because the cold's going to take your calorie intake along with the working. So, and then our northern dogs, they put the hide on too. I mean, their hair will be totally different than it is now. And I use a lot of fish oil. I got some. I get it off Chewy.com. It's got 3 Alaskan fish oils in it. And
yes.
I have had the last 2 years. I don't have hardly any hair in my kennels. I mean, they shed that winter hair off so fast. They don't put it on as you don't have all that under hair that just doesn't seem to go away on a middle-aged dog.
Yeah.
And that fish oil is
you're just pouring that on their food.
Yeah, you put it on their feed. I mean, you got a limited amount of omega-3s in most of your good dog foods anyway, but this adds. I don't know what the baking process does, all that stuff, and they bake that stuff. I don't know what.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And so I add to it,
okay.
And I've been dabbling in some. I've been giving them pumpkin all summer too, and that's made their stools better. And shined them up a lot, and a couple tablespoons each dog every night, just pure canned pumpkin.
See, okay. Now, you just taught me something else because I've used pumpkin with my dogs they're having stool issues, and I want to flush them out. But
You know
I've
what?
never
You want to
used
get too heavy on her, you'll get them
Okay.
loose. But I'm
Yeah.
a big tablespoon. I'll give them 2 spoonfuls.
Okay.
On their food at night, along with that fish oil, and then I feed a probiotic to them also. That kind of just gut health is the core of your dog. So I mean, you can tell. I mean, that can affect the hair. Pretty much everything in a dog is affected by what goes into them. So
So what probiotic are you using? Is it a pill?
yeah, it's a chewable. I can't remember the brand on it. I can go grab it if you want.
No,
to
that's
see it.
okay. I'll just because I know it's probably the greatest thing. It's probably got a little bit of sugar in it, but I'll use when my dogs have had issues, just a liquid yogurt with a probiotic,
Oh yeah,
or that kefir milk with a
Yep.
probiotic.
Anything like that. You know what? A lot of that stuff's human grade, so I don't know what it does for your dog. So I buy the stuff that's kind of hopefully built for dogs.
Okay.
More, but a lot of guys do cod liver oil, and they're using human grade cod liver oil, and I've read some stuff online that is on the right idea, but they make better stuff.
Okay.
This stuff I got it's like mackerel, anchovy, it's three Alaskan fish and I've noticed it right away. I've been feeding it 2 years now, and them dogs just shed out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not hair everywhere like a lot of dogs can have in this climate where you got very cold winters and very warm summers where they're fluctuating that coat. Well, you don't want to be sweeping hair
Yeah.
on a daily basis.
Yeah, because the labs. And I don't know if you ever heard this. So I was just thinking back when I was in Eastern Kentucky, which is where I'm from. I'm in Texas now, but I owned and ran a gun and pawn shop. So I always I was in a little small town right in the Appalachian Mountains, and have a lot of guys come in, hunters, buying ammo.
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of these coon hunter guys, where we live, the mountains are steep and it's hard.
Yeah.
And they're running dogs in that all night. And a lot of those guys would come in and talk about, condition their dogs, and they would use jack mackerel in a can. They would feed like a whole can.
Yep, they're getting that oil,
Yeah.
omega-3s, what they're after.
And so I've tried that. I come from a little bit of a protection dog background. I've had Shepherds, Malinois, I actually have Dobermans now, and I've tried that on my dogs, and I see a difference in their coat.
Oh, you see it in the coat for
Yeah.
sure.
And maybe only one can a week, or even one can every couple of weeks. But yeah,
Immune systems, it affects a lot, But that all goes back to your gut health. It affects your whole dog,
Yeah.
That what you're feeding a dog. I mean, the look of your dog tells.
Yeah, you feed the dog that's in front of you. I heard somebody say that once.
Yeah, I mean, just how your dog looks.
Yeah.
Does it look like you want it? Do you want other people to see the way your dog looks? There's all kinds of things you can do. I mean, there's all kinds of good dog foods, and we've dabbled in several of them over the years.
Of course, now I'm down in West Texas, but our ground's real hard on dogs' feet. We have mesquite, thorns, cactus.
Oh, I've been down. I can't imagine.
Do you do anything during the season? Do you have to watch your dog? I was in the military too. We'd always take care of her feet. Do you do anything to help?
Keeping them pads tough,
Okay.
which is basically just hunting and exercise, and the pad will get tougher.
Okay.
Once in a while you'll have what can get a sliver or a side of a corn stalk go in between their toes, or
Yeah.
but you can have that happen anytime, anywhere, but it's very rare, and then we get them on some antibiotics and get it out. And,
Do you do kind of your own amateur vet work a little bit?
oh yeah, a lot.
You have to,
yeah,
don't you?
I got a good vet that
Keeps you.
yeah, we got to be prepared.
Yes.
Everything happens on a Friday, Saturday night, and you can't.
Yeah, you can't get a vet.
A lot of times, yeah, you can't get a vet, or if you got the antibiotics, you can get them started. And I always carry staple. I got a whole medicine kit. I got antibiotics, staple gun, everything you need in an emergency to at least get your dog a head start before you get to the vet. And everybody should have something like that.
Do y'all have any trouble up here with poisonous snakes?
Not in this part. You go 50 miles west here, rattlesnakes, prairie rattlers. And a lot of dogs get bit. They do the anti-venom shots, which buys you time to get to the vet. But usually, like with our snakes in South Dakota, a body bite is worse than a leg bite or a head bite because you're closer to the organs. You get tissue damage immediately, but if it's on an organ spot, that's where you run the risk. A lot of guys snake train basically from the Missouri River west.
Yes.
Where they sew a rattlesnake's mouth shut or defang it or whatever, and it keeps the dog from going at a snake, which those aren't your bad bites. It's when a dog's hunting and runs over a snake, gets belly bit.
Yeah.
Those are your bad bites. And you guys got worse rattlesnakes than we. You got the bigger snakes and more venom. I mean, no.
Yeah,
there's no chance.
And it's interesting. On my ranch, I'm near Menard, Texas, and I have everybody around me has Diamondbacks, and all I ever have is prairie rattlers, which they're just as bad, but they're a lot smaller.
They're smaller, yeah. I mean, up here, a 4-foot rattlesnake is a big snake.
Yeah. That for a prairie rattler, that's big.
That's a big snake,
and I don't see those.
You won't up here usually until about this time of year when they start denning up, and then every snake's moving to that warm spot, And the guys out there, I got a lot of buddies that guide out there that snakes are an issue, and they got areas they don't hunt until November because of that.
So good cold spell.
Yeah, I'm glad we don't have that. If I had gators and snakes, I'd probably fish a lot.
Yeah. I know guys that train dogs in Florida, in water. I
know.
Yeah.
But I guess I swim in the ocean and I ain't afraid of sharks. So.
True. Yeah. So, all I've ever done with you here is pheasant. In this area, Scott, do y'all have grouse, any other species?
Upland, it used to be really good Hungarian partridge. I mean, I grew up with my dad before soybeans came in, and it was wheat, corn, sunflowers,
yes,
and a lot more grass. We'd go out late September when partridge opened and shoot. Me and my dad would shoot our limits in the stubble, and we see. Last 2 years, we've seen some small coveys, but it had been 20 years since I've seen a partridge on the ranch.
Is soybeans a reason? No forage?
Well, the lack of grass and more corn and soybean farming.
Okay.
A lack of grass. Well,
natural grass.
Yeah, and small grain assimilates your grass, too, because that small grain is basically grass.
Okay.
And it's great for nesting of everything. And then the stubble, partridge like that. We'd see some grouse, too, but you go Missouri River west in South Dakota, they got pockets of really good pheasants along with the partridge and grouse because they still got all their way more acres of grass, and that's what them prairie birds need.
Now, for that type hunting, the partridge and the grouse and stuff, what would you hunt with? What gun dog would you take?
Well, I'm going to hunt my labs.
Really? Really?
They do it all. I mean, they. I don't have any pointing labs.
Okay, I was going to ask you. That's where I was going.
But here's my thought on it. If that bird does not move, my dogs lock up. But a coyote locks up before it kills a mouse too. It's a canine pause. Okay. But I'm ready to shoot all the time. Hunt with labs. If they, when they kick them up, I'm shooting. I don't care if I see them point it, but they're gonna kick it up 20, 30 yards from me.
Because they're hunting close to you.
Yep. And where a pointer gets out, it might point, further out. But you also run the risk of them birds jumping, even though that dog's right there. And grouse get smart. Grouse in short grass after a couple weeks of hunting are the hardest thing to hunt.
They just don't move.
They see you. No, they'll take off. You won't get within 100 yards of them. So I don't do a lot of grouse hunting. If I do, it's in December when the birds are moved into the heavier cover, and you're killing pheasants and grouse. And
now, do any of your buddies give you any flack over showing up for grouse hunting with labs?
No, they all got labs too.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Well, that's funny.
It's the king up here.
It is. I've noticed that. What's my third season up here? I've saw everybody I see has labs. I occasionally at the hotels we stay at, see just a short hair or something. I've never even seen. Well, one of our buddies brought a Brittany.
Yeah, there's some Brittany's. I got some buddies that have some good springers. There's some good South Dakota grown springers that I got some buddies out west that have some really good springers. We get out to that preserve and we got 5 buses rolling here in a week. 5 buses rolling, and there's 15 guides out there. There'll be 100 dogs.
Wow.
And there'll be less than 10 dogs of other than labs. I
Really?
mean, labs are just
That,
the king up here.
at
I mean,
Preserve Scott, you're not doing just pheasant, right?
just pheasant.
Just pheasant?
Yep.
Okay. Well, what's the name of that preserve? You told me a while ago.
Paul Nelson Farm.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of the best preserves in the nation. If you guy wants to do an early season hunt or season hunt, have really good accommodations.
Yes.
It's nicest lodge.
Well, I'm still going to say again, if you want to hunt wild birds, Scott's got the place. I've told everybody in Texas about it.
We've stayed the same the last 4. The habitat is key. In our township is a lot of grass, and you need grass for nesting. And our habitat's been the same for 40 years, and we've added to it. We plant a lot of food plots, a lot of everything pheasants need, and that's it takes 20,000 acres to have good pheasant hunting, and our township has that.
Well, I do know that when I come up here, we stay in Huron. Did I say it correctly?
Yep.
And it's a hunting town. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, that's they cater to us, and everybody's so nice
Yeah.
to us. But it's a hunting town.
Well, South Dakota's a hunting. If you don't
I guess
hunt,
so, yeah.
if you live here and don't hunt and fish, you drink a lot of beer.
It is good for that.
The winter time. I mean, we hunt and fish year round, even when it's cold. We're ice fishing. We hunt literally 2 weeks in February. The last 2 weeks in February is when there's really nothing to hunt.
Okay.
We goose hunt to mid-February, and then March snow east starts. Pheasant runs all the way to end of January, and then turkey hunting.
So you're, and you have. I was thinking that you did your goose hunting in Canada, but you do it.
in South Dakota, yeah.
Okay.
I don't get far from I'll hunt within 50 miles of here.
Oh wow. Okay.
Having all the dogs and livestock to take care of.
Yeah.
My dad was alive. I used to guide western Nebraska on the Platte River, hunt ducks and geese down there, guiding down there by Scotts Bluff, and used to guide fishing 100 days a year too. And
Jeez.
my dad passed away. I kind of had to
Do the farm.
Yeah. There's too much stuff to do, and I can't. He was nice enough to let me screw off through my 20s.
Yeah. So you got cattle, goats,
Yeah.
and then crops.
And crops and hay, a lot of hay, and planting the food plots and haying all our grass so it's structured for hunting. Driving paths and stuff.
I didn't realize that. So you're planting food plots just for pheasants.
Yep, pheasants and deer. I mean, any kind of wildlife utilizes that, and pheasants and deer are kind of our main things we go for. The deer, we got really good deer, but that's kind of our thing we get to do if we get a day off, which is rare.
So the one you just showed me, the skull, last year's deer.
Yep.
That was on your place
Yep.
here.
Yeah, that was on. I haven't scored him yet, but he's real heavy.
He had some nice mass.
He was hard to pass up. I had a lot of trail cam pictures of him, and had seen him several times.
Had you been scoping him out for a few seasons?
Or
just that
I had
season?
just seen this deer that opening weekend when you were here. We seen him in that. Remember that food plot where he got up and kind of ran at us? That was him.
Oh heck!
And I hadn't seen him. I seen him opening day of rifle season. I hadn't seen him since that opening day of pheasant. And opening day of rifle, I had to guide pheasant hunters. I had him. He was right by the mailbox out there. He was there for 2 hours, standing there and rutting. And I didn't have my rifle and working anyway. But
Scott, I got to tell you, first year I hunted here with you, I'd heard a story. I guess the hunts before me or something about the deer that ran into somebody that actually broke its neck, or a doe or something.
yeah, I didn't witness it, but
Okay.
it was down the line for me. I seen the deer get up, and I heard a bunch of holler, and I guess my uncle was by him, and that yearling ran into the guy and snapped his neck.
Wow.
That deer laid there dead. I don't.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't lie. We hunted. That's probably the second day we were walking. We weren't in corn. We were walking some that thick grass, and it was rough. And anyway, a buck jumped up and come straight at me, scared me to death.
You gotta basically sound like you're sorting cattle. You gotta make some noise, let them know you're there.
Yeah.
Because I've seen guys get hit. Nobody's ever gotten hurt. But we've had does. Guy right next to me, a doe gets up, and you hear it sounds like the corn's falling over.
Yeah.
And this doe hit this guy right to my right, and it moved him 15 feet like that,
Jeez.
and he landed back on his feet. He never left he got off his feet, but it never rolled him or nothing. And it happens. I mean, there's a lot of close calls. I had this has probably been 25 years ago. We were hunting our creek bottom. We had cows out there. We had electric wire about half. This was a mile-long walk. Big creek bottom draw, and about top third we had electric fenced off for cattle, and we were just pushing the draw up, and we crossed that electric wire. Well, I got across, and the guy to my left was about 20 feet away from me, and a buck got up right underneath that. It was that Gallagher, that braided wire. And it, when it stood up, it had that wire on its tines and clotheslined him. I mean, he had his gun up. His gun hit him in the forehead. It ass over tea-kettled him, and that buck took off with that Gallagher wire, came loose from the post, and we're talking 400 yards of string of fence, one wire. That deer made it about 300 yards, and it snapped him back like a rope calf. Ooh. I couldn't believe how that wire didn't break.
Yeah.
And I got the guy up. We finished the hunt. I called the sheriff. He brought me out a candy strapper tag, and we had to get that fence back up, or his cow was going to be where we didn't want them. And we went out there, and this was 2-3 hours later, towards dark, and that deer had went around every tree in that bottom, and that line is tight, and we don't see the deer, and it's pretty open. There's trees here and there, and the last 50 yards of that line just goes right into some thicker brush. It's tight, and I pull on it, and it's not moving.
Yeah.
We get up there, and 4 or 5 guys wanted to come with. They were on the hunt and watch this, and I had my rifle, and they were off to my right, and that buck got up, and I'm like, everybody duck, and that buck come across, and they ducked, and that wire went around, and he went around another tree and snubbed him down a little more, and I shot him. But he had that stuff all wrapped around. I mean,
that's crazy.
But
I've got I got a high fence ranch, and fallow deer for some reason on my ranch, so they'll get it if they've got some old fencing rolled up. That's the first thing they'll get into when
they're shedding the velvet.
Yeah, I guess.
Or
Exactly.
Rut activity. Whenever they're using
it's in that. It actually is in the rut, and I've me and my neighbor have both lost a deer like that. Let me ask you this: so you've definitely obviously had a lot of dogs, a lot of good dogs. What's your favorite lab you've ever had?
I've had a lot of good ones, and there's been a lot of favorites for different reasons. There's never two the same. I got a yellow male now that it's 3, and he named Finn, not out of the field champion Finn, but I just named him Finn. But he picked it up immediately, and I've never seen a dog with the gas he does. I mean, the stuff he does, you can't. It's kind of like Bo Jackson. You had to see it to. Yeah. Like, we wouldn't believe it. Yeah. I mean, he'll literally do half-mile retrieves on pheasants if the bird's feathers come out of the bird, he knows it, and that bird's come back with it.
So he just got this amazing marketing.
Oh yeah, and hunting snogies. I credit a lot of that. I'll take these young dogs and I'll, hunt just pheasants that first year, and then I'll start working steadying them up a little bit, get their obedience good. And I'm always pretty particular with sit and stay, so I'll take these young dogs out in the spring on days I'm not guiding and pass shoot snow geese, and shoot 20, 30 snows over that dog in the afternoon, and them white birds on that brown cover, you can do 200-300 yard march, and that dog can see it, and you do that, and then that dog just. And this dog Finn, you wing bird. He goes after the wing bird first, and quarter mile, half mile. I mean, he'd come back with that bird and watches it all the way to the ground. But he goes out on fast as he can and comes back just as fast. And that's what I want. That's you see that in them field champion bloodlines. It's all pedigree when they charge back with that bird in their mouth as fast as they go out.
But it sounds like you might breed him with that black female, that field champion daughter in there.
Yeah, I got
that might be a good parent.
I got some I probably should, but it's every year something new comes out, and whelping puppies in the wintertime.
That's the same here. I'm not a breeder.
And I want a dog to be born October, November, December, because then it's that 9, 10, 11 month old the following hunting season, and we can't really force fetch nothing until they're 6 months, lose some puppy teeth.
Yeah.
So get them start in June, and then early September we go right to the preserve after that training and just watch the light bulbs turn on.
So you're taking basically yearlings and putting them to work.
But yeah, they might only be 9, 10 months old. A lot of times, I like my dogs born around Halloween,
Okay.
and by the time that dog's a year, it's done more than 90% of labs will do ever, And then I'll never forget that. I got puppies I'll take for buddies that don't even guide, and I'll run them on the one season, and that dog will be the best dog they ever had their whole life. And it may only hunt 3-4 weekends a year, but it's going to remember that the rest of his life.
There's just no substitute for that repetition, is there?
No, there's not. And it's got to be for every breed, no matter what you're doing. Up here, labs are, the king. Because up here, it's about putting the birds in the basket, because you don't want to hunt every field you have. And a lot of times our birds are picked up for the guys get their guns reloaded. And they're, they don't even realize, they think we got birds to pick up and they're already done and we're moving again.
Well, I'm real excited to see what you do with my dog Maverick. He's got a lot of, now he's a British dog,
Yep.
bred, and some of your dogs, we might talk about that a little bit. Some of your dogs are a mix, aren't they?
They're American,
mostly American.
but that all came from over the pond originally.
True.
So you get your different builds. I don't want them huge dogs.
Yeah.
I want my males 65 to 70, 60 to 70, and my females will be 50 to 65, usually 50 to 60. Fine boned, athletic, and that's just kind of what them field trial dogs are anymore. You get some of the old look, blocky head, but you're going to have that fine bone length and long leg and just athleticism built into them.
You took the words out of my mouth. Like I said, I'm not trying to portray that I've got the knowledge you have, but all my years, and I have fooled dogs since I was a kid, and you name it. So when I first got in the lab world, I wanted kind of not a big, but I wanted a blocky dog. I was more worried about looks, and I've come 180. Like now, I want a dog that's athletic, if it's long and lanky.
Yeah.
But even when I did a lot of protection dog stuff and Schutzen, I didn't want a big German Shepherd. And this is just my soapbox, but the dogs from Germany would be, a male would be 70 pounds.
Yeah.
Us Americans, we want 100-pound. I got a 100-pound German Shepherd. I got a 100-pound lab. Well, then you've got a problem.
Yeah.
You've got hip problems, elbow problems, health problems.
They probably weren't watching what they're breeding. Come back to pedigree.
Yeah.
Look at all these breeds of dogs that were 100, 200 years or maybe longer had a job, and they've basically what I call puppy milled them just for a source of income.
Yes.
Breed. You see bulletin board dogs everywhere.
Yeah.
Every bulletin board's got puppies for sale. Well,
Yes.
in my opinion, there's 2% of labs that probably should be bred.
Yes.
Just because your dog hunts good, yeah.
And I want to get rid of one misconception. So every time, when I first got, heavy in the labs, every time I tell somebody I had British labs, they thought, "Oh, you've got the big blocky head." I was like, "No, that's a show dog. There's British show lines, but there's British field lines.
Yeah.
I have field lines.
Yeah.
So, like Maverick, he's here. He's more blockier than most.
Yeah.
But my females, they're just long, lanky.
Yeah.
And that's. But yeah, I'm like you. That's what I want. I want a dog that. Well, it's just like me. I'm a stocky guy. I'm not built to run marathons, But my youngest son he's 6'3", almost 6'4", and has no body fat. He's built for athleticism.
Yeah.
He's not built after me, by the way. But so it's just like your dogs, right? I mean,
and you usually them good pedigree dogs are good looking dogs.
Yeah.
I mean they got everything of the breed. Usually you're breeding your health clearance. Them dog. The cream rises to the top, when you buy the good stuff. It's going to cost more money, but the worst thing you want is having a health issue, EIC or something, when that dog's a year, 2 years old and having to put it down. And them, like I say, them bulletin board dogs, they ain't health clearance them. He bred to the dog across the alley.
Yeah.
Because his dog hunted last season and that guy just got a male and it retrieved him a bird. It's the best dog he's ever seen.
It's funny. You call I have the same saying. So if I call them flea market dogs, like back home around Kentucky, we'd have flea markets and you'd have puppies for sale. And God help you know what that's going to turn out like.
And they're usually accidents.
Yeah.
And it's biology. I got males and females. I've never had an oops breeding. They will tell you when you don't put them together.
Yeah.
And it's usually 10 days before they actually could get bred.
Yes.
You just got to pay attention to it. And it's every 6 months.
Yeah.
Like
clockwork.
You kind of know it when it's coming.
Yeah, my male's a howl, and
Oh, they're just
they'll
sniffing
go
everywhere.
get-
They just act stupid.
Yeah.
They just forget all their sense.
Now, I don't think you're sponsored by Crispy, and I'm not either. But,
No.
But we're going to talk about that in a second because I ended up watching.
They could sponsor us.
They should sponsor you. We need to put this on the air. They should at least, and they should really sponsor Scott because he put a Facebook post on. It's kind of funny, and I messaged him. I ended up getting a pair because I get a military discount from one of the sites that I use. Guidefitter, Guidefitter.
That's what I got.
Okay,
Yeah.
so military and hunting guides. So and then I saw one of Scott's buddies. I assume was a South Dakota guy. It's like, what are you doing? Don't let our secret out,
Yeah,
about Crispies.
yeah.
But let's just. I know we're not getting paid by Crispy, by the way, but
Not yet.
give me your 2 cents. Let's hear it.
I bought a pair of. I never wore Crispies. I bought a pair last August. I bought Summit 2s and most comfortable boot I ever put on right out of the box. And I wore them all the way up until. There was a 2-week spell in December where it got cold, and I also bought a pair of the 400-gram West Rivers, for colder weather.
Yes.
But them Summits from September to turkey season, I at least put 1,000 miles on them, and the soles were gone, and my foot went out the side of them turkey hunting in the hills over here, and I called Crispy, and they wouldn't warranty the sole. I get that, you wear the tread off your tires, they ain't gonna warranty it either. But
True.
the waterproofing, they weren't waterproof anymore either because my foot was out the side of them. They stood behind them, sent me a brand new pair, and they come out with a new Laponia or something like that. I'm gonna buy a pair of them too here. But yeah, they're a wonderful boot. I mean, I've never had a pair of boots that I could wear all season.
Really?
I would.
You would go through two pair of boots.
Buy a new pair in September, Danners, Rockies, you name it. By Halloween, they're shot.
Really?
I mean, they're just good. It's like everything new. It's all in the glue they use and the stitch. I mean, it seems like stuff's gotten cheaper, quality. But them Crispies are.
And they're Italian, right? Made in Italy.
Italian leather.
Okay.
I think they might make them in America now. I'm not 100%.
Okay.
I've talked to a Crispy rep a couple times, but wherever they're made, they're good, and they're easy to get in South Dakota and Texas also. So especially if you get them online.
Yes. Yeah.
But I know Shields carries them. If you don't want to order online, Shields. A few other stores carry them. I've seen some just private hunting stores carry them. Because they got really popular.
Well, let me ask this, and maybe the podcast will be on the air by the time before hunting season comes. How do you feel about pheasant population this year?
We've had 3 really good springs.
Okay.
And springs, the springtime, birds start sitting on nests, depending on what the weather does, how bad a winter it was when thaw and the conditions are right. End of April, 1st of May, birds start sitting on nests, start seeing your first chicks, May to the 10th of June, end of May to the 10th of June. And this year was phenomenal. A lot of birds hatched early. We see them all the time because we're out here, and big broods this year. And we've had 3 really good springs of that. And prior to that, we had some really dry years. And the dry years, what hurts your broods is you don't have bugs. Okay. And that's all the chicks get their water and food and everything. And we've had just ample bugs up here. And we're seeing it now. I mean, the chicks a lot of them roosters are damn near fully colored now. And they're big broods. You'll see hundreds of them in the mornings, on bales, and they've got the road ditches cut now and the dewy mornings. There's a lot of birds. It's getting back to what it was. If you got the right habitat, it's getting back to what it was 20 years ago.
You said that. I didn't realize it. Here on the township itself was into like the conservation of.
Yeah, we're southwest of Huron, or southeast of Huron, where we do our hunting.
Yes.
And that township, there's 3 families and a Hutterite colony in the whole township.
Okay.
There's 36 miles of just them people, and everybody's got grass and habitat. The colony doesn't, but that's just 10,000 acres of it. The rest is all habitat, and by, the colony gets everything harvested by 5th of November, and every bird in that 5 miles is on us.
Of course, I can thank my good friend Randy Covey for getting me into this hunting up here, and meeting you. But I'll never forget the first day we drove out to your place to hunt that morning. Into ditch lines. I never seen so many pheasants in my life. It's crazy.
Yeah, the mornings they coming out of that grass, they roost in the grass. They're basically like do what a turkey does. They don't roost in a tree at night, but they roost in the grass, and they leave the roost and just kind of meander and end up back in that grass at night. It's the mornings you see them coming out, and if you ain't got your birds by last 30 minutes of shooting time, get to some grass near some corn because they're coming.
Okay, didn't know that. With you, that's one thing. We've always limited out every day, and then the latest one day last season, one day we might have hunted till about 4 o'clock. That's the latest I've ever hunted with you.
It's hunting. You never know. Yeah. I mean, weather and pheasants is huge. The opening weekend ain't as big. Weather doesn't throw as much into it. It does for the dogs, but the birds aren't bunched up then. So you get later season, every bird in 10 miles is on our food plots and everything, because there's no other habitat.
See, I've got to
the grass is snowed in, and, we we got all these food plots that we leave stand all year, and that's their food source. If you get the stubble fields covered, and they pile into them cattails for warmth in the winter and stuff that we haven't hunted all year. We hunt late season in January,
I need to try a later season hunt with you too, because I've always just done the first weekend, right in October.
Okay. I don't even grab my gun till Christmas,
Okay.
Basically because I'm guiding. I don't carry a gun. I'm guiding, but from Christmas to January 31st, I'm mad at them.
yeah It's it's funny. I remember you making fun of us. You asked me if everybody in Texas just had 2 shells, because we all carry under overshot.
Texas over unders, yeah.
But I think you actually got me talked in this year. I'm gonna bring a Benelli. It's the one you told me to buy.
The limit's 3. I want my gun to hold at least 3.
Yeah.
You get 15 guys with over unders and yellow rooster, and then 5-6 of them get up. Everybody's loading.
Yeah. It's I complain because I've been using that Browning Satori, and that thing weighs a ton.
Yeah.
And one of the older guys last year gave me a really nice, expensive 20 gauge to carry, and it was like carrying a feather compared to that Browning.
I shoot Benelli M2s. That's the ultimate gun right there. Outside of the 870 pump, which is the most fail-proof gun ever made.
It's bulletproof.
The Benelli M2 is light. In my opinion, you don't need 3.5 for anything.
No.
Change your choke. You don't need, 3-inch can kill anything. I 2 3/4 on pheasants. But that gun is so light. I got a 24-inch barrel I use on pheasants, and your swing is fast.
Okay. 24-inch
barrel. You can get them down to 21. But it's all your swing. The barrel length has nothing to do with range. It's all your choke. And I shoot a lot of. I shoot a extended long range pattern master, and I kill a lot of geese at 60, 70 yards. And it's just getting the right load in the 3-inch. And
what's your favorite ammo for pheasant?
Well, funny story there. I ain't bought shells in years. I gather up what's left in the buses and the Suburban, and what people ain't put a name on, and that's my shells.
I've left you shells. I've donated too. Yeah,
you can't fly with half boxes, no. and we guys put their names on them, and we put them back in a tote for that group. Yeah. Then they're there for the year. But if they get left in the vehicles, it's usually parcel boxes, and I'll put parcel boxes together. And with what I have now, I'll never have to buy a shotgun shell.
That's pretty good.
I buy some steel. So I like that fast steel.
Yeah.
For geese, for snow geese, and I'll shoot a 1 or 2 shot, 3 shot, ounce and a quarter BBs. 1, 2s, 3s, BBs. But really a snow geese you don't need BBs. I'll shoot fall Canadas with BBs. It all depends on what you're doing. If you're decoying tight, you can kill them with a lot less.
Now, are you just going to guide pheasant this year, correct? You
Yeah,
won't be doing the other stuff.
We don't have time to scout waterfowl with afternoon pheasant hunts. So a buddy of mine, Jaron Anderson, with South Dakota Saskatchewan Snows, he does all our waterfowl guiding, plus his own. It's a great hunt. He's in Canada and here, and we'll add that combination to the pheasant hunt.
Now,
him and his guides will take the guys waterfowl in the morning, and then we'll do the pheasants in the afternoon.
Is it good duck hunting in South Dakota? I've never done that here.
It's phenomenal. It's
really?
Everything in Canada comes through here.
Okay.
And plus, we also nest 12 species of ducks in your greater Canadas. So we start out the year with our local birds, and it's outside of the snow geese and specks and cranes, we have everything Canada does here, right? In 2 weeks when I think a week from now our season opens. No, 2 weeks. And everything's here. I mean, you'll shoot early season, you might shoot 8 species of ducks.
Wow.
If you're out in the field, you'll shoot your mallards, pintails,
Well, that's the last subject. The last subject I'll mention to you. So, I've got to Sand Hill crane hunt in Lubbock, and I live in Midland, so I'm not that far down. But great hunting up there, big time. But I hunted with a guy this year, very well known guy. I can't think of his name, and it'll hit me. But anyway, he had his dogs retrieving crane without goggles.
Yeah, you're fine on them if it's not a cripple.
Yeah,
I've shot a few cranes in South Dakota here, and them crippled birds, they know how to use that beak.
Yeah,
you got to kick the damn thing in the head and wring its neck, because and then you get a dog at it, they don't have any way to really defend itself while they're in its head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've had stories of those guys, having their labs get their eye poked out, and I was like, I'm not taking my dog.
Well, there's so much other stuff that can get your dog's eye. I don't want the birds. But the cranes come through here, and we'll usually get them coming over our spreads. They're not here long enough to pattern them in South Dakota.
Yeah.
We'll shoot some, but you're usually past shooting them. And where you guys like Canada, where they first grain fields they decoy them well. Where you guys are, Texas, Oklahoma, where they winter, you get them on a pattern, you can decoy them. I got to do that someday. I've not done that.
Yeah, you have to come down. My buddy got me going with this guy down here. I know he wrote the recipe on the Sitka Gear website for how to fix sandhill crane.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's lean sirloin.
Yeah, the rib eye of the sky. I'm hooked on it, and it might be that favorite game meat. My favorite game meat's actually moose. I had moose in Canada fresh, and that was unbelievable.
I hear that. I've not had it fresh. I've had it some sausage and sticks, where it's mixed with other tallow. It's good, but I base my wild game on what it is.
Yeah.
Like itself.
Yeah, I don't want it seasoned up and all that stuff.
And it's all how you shoot it too. Up here, everybody don't like antelope. Well, they probably shot it when it was 90 degrees, and it sat on a Saturday morning and brought it on their pickup truck one day, and they don't like it. I wonder why.
Yeah.
I love antelope. Antelope's my favorite. Out of deer antelope, I'm going to eat antelope.
Really?
And
see, I didn't know any better, Scott. I've only killed one. It was a nice one I told you about up in Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Yep.
But I didn't know any better, and they actually talked me into donating it to like the hunters. But
you should have kept the loins.
And that's what someone told me. Then
butterfly them things. Oh man, they're good.
Well, a hunter brought some to the ranch and fixed me, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I donated all that. But anyway, and again I've got black buck at the ranch, and first black buck I gave the meat to a friend, and anyway, buddy says you're crazy that you gave that away. And so the next one, we eat the back straps that day, same day we killed it, and very little seasoning. Yeah, it was awesome.
And them roasts are good. Them hind roasts or the blade roasts. You're not a lot of meat on the quarters. But those are good too if you cut them right.
Now, how do you fix your antelope?
My favorite, the back straps, butterfly them, wrap them in bacon, and treat them season them like you do a beefsteak, which salt and pepper is about all I do, and medium rare, pull them off 125 degrees and eat them.
Yeah. I'm a medium rare guy.
We shoot our antelope. If it's hot, we don't even gut them because the antelope will blow up fast anyway, and we'll just quarter them right on the spot and get them on ice. And then out where I used to hunt, they had Great Pyrenees dogs, so we get them carcasses near the dogs and clean it up.
Yeah.
Keep the heads and all the meat and let them have the rest.
Saying you turkey there on the wall, I got to in April.
Beards hanging on.
That's a dandy.
Yeah, those are all South Dakota birds.
Are those Miriams?
We got the one on the right's a true Merriam, and that other one we got a lot of mutt turkeys in South Dakota. We got
Do they cross?
Well, they've introduced Easterns and Rios.
Okay.
Well, the southern border has Rios, Nebraska, and they've introduced Rios and Easterns where there's Merriams, and where we hunt over west of here. We call it a mutt bird. It's a 25-pound mature tom that's got Merriam traits, Eastern, and Rio.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, very vocal birds.
Well, this year I got to get an Osceola in Osceola County, Florida.
Yeah,
and that's neat. They're pretty challenging. I've killed everything but a Miriam.
There's a lot of areas you know the Merriams by them white tails.
Yeah,
you see them, and you get west of the river. There's a lot of Merriams.
I can actually. That's the only turkey I can actually differentiate on the ground as a Miriam.
A lot of them, it's just where they're at. Like,
in Colorado, they seem real white.
Those are the Merriams. Those are true Merriams.
Yeah.
They got them in the Black Hills in West South Dakota. You got your Easterns. They're usually your bigger bird, harder to hunt. They can block up on you a lot. We got Easterns in the eastern part of the state, and then like your Rios, they're just a smaller bird, but they're more like an Eastern, but smaller.
Yeah, they're little, and the hens are taller.
Yeah,
or they just look that way.
I think they just look it because they're
slim.
Yeah, and you're same with your Osceolas too.
I truly think Rios come in a lot easier and a lot more aggressive than an Eastern.
Easterns are tough.
They'll come in, turn around.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm calling
they'll
them
hang up
somebody.
on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they're challenging.
I shot that one with my bow. That one on the left. No. Yeah, that one on.
That's super.
I think I shot that one with my bow. I was down by Elk Point, South Dakota. There's a lot of Easterns. And there's some Merriams. I shot a hybrid down there one year, Merriam Eastern too. But they got them big, thick beards like an Eastern. That's a trait that they have. Our Merriams will have them spindly beards. Especially our West River Merriams, where they're rougher country, they'll drag that beard off.
Okay. Really?
And
the Osceolas have thin beards. They're long and thin.
I think that's kind of the country they're in. It's the Everglades and the swampy and dragging that beard. It's spindly.
Well, Scott, it's been a pleasure. You're actually my first podcast guest on Gundog Nation. I've really enjoyed it. We may have to do this again. See how Maverick returned, Which I'll be back
Part
here
2.
in 6 weeks or so.
Yeah. What is it?
About 5 or 6 weeks.
You'll be here the 18th. That's the Friday before.
Yeah. But hey, we'll conclude this podcast, and thank you very much, Scott. And remember, Scott Nenaber, his website again is
NenaberPheasantRanch.com, or we're on Facebook also.
Okay, and I will attach a link on this podcast.